Abuelito Lupe, he served in World War II. He had a shitload of European blood in him. You could tell the wavy hair, super fucking tall. I think he had colored eyes. So that's not that everything about that is not indigenous Mexican descent. Like not all, but from what I know, the Mayas are short, dark skin, short, straight hair. That's not at all what my grandpa was. My grandma, on the other hand, I'll say she has a straight hair. My grandma's fucking darker than my grandpa. So it's just different. History is just very interesting. The more you look at it, the more people want to portray themselves as like the victors and shit. And especially here in America. America loves to just teach people and program people some bullshit that ain't even all the way true. Maybe not even halfway, a quarter way there true.
Mad Max was the turnout of my lifestyle. Smoking green, blowing white clouds to build the blue skies. Conversating with the gods by my wildflower to let them know that it's the God's hour. This love's the never-ending saga. Gods by my wildflower to let them know that it's the God's hour. This love's the never-ending saga. Gods by my wildflower to let them know that it's the God's hour. This love's the never-ending saga. Gods by my wildflower to let them know that it's the God's hour. This love's the never-ending saga. Walk through the sands of times like Gara. On the other side of that gad is karma. You wet Prada, the devil like inside your box now. While the angels fly over my headstone.
We are back with another episode of the God's Hour podcast with your boy Big Cervelli, back in the place to be, La Merca Superior Palace 81 Studios. We are live in effect, live and direct. It's your boy Mr. 9 Times. And if you are wondering what the fuck am I wearing, I want to know the exact same thing too, because I had a real good hunch that tie-dye was gonna be the thing, but I just look like a big ass raspado, or like a blueberry, strawberry, or a milkshake or some shit like that. I don't know. This wasn't it. I already know this wasn't it. There's some things that people wear out there, either in the music world or the quote unquote fashion world, that makes them, they think they're so cool with these fucking bullshit ass fits they got on, but this isn't it. And I'll tell you that right now. If anybody would like to purchase a 3X hand, like I did this by hand, and like this won't be cheap. Because of why? Because like of the threads and the process I had to do making this shit. Holla at your boy, because I have two of them. The other one I think has more blue in it, and that one makes me look like a straight up fucking blueberry smoothie up in that piece. But then I have another large, so if you could rock it, holla at your boy. I'll definitely. Now this is before print. Now if you want a specific design that I already have out there made for it, you can. Or whatever. If not, I'll just fucking end up selling it anyway. But like probably not to whoever is on the podcast. Or maybe you're watching this in the future and I've sold it already. So whatever, right? So today or yesterday, they called me to vet and they were like, yo, Presley's appointment is for 9. And I was like, what the fuck? I thought it was for 10. It turns out I booked them, back to back with tomorrow. I'm going to get Presley's. We're going to get him groomed. And then today we had him see the vet because he has like skin allergies and he won't stop licking himself and scratching himself. So the vet, I'm fully prepared, to throw a bill down. You know what I mean? Bam, bam, bam. Like, fuck it. The vet is never, especially the vet right here is like not even cheap as fuck. And you get what you pay for, because it's around like a dime cheaper in Chino, where I would go to with Presley, but it's a little bit out of the way, like 2 cities over, and then I feel like they're what is it? I just like the service more here, and especially it's like down the street from my house. So of course, right after we went Right after we got checked out, I bought. It's right by the grocery store, so I bought groceries. Came back, you know what I mean. Versus I would have been all over the place that I went to the other place. So they gave him a shot. The shot alone was 100. I was like, wow, that's some fucking bullshit. Gave him some cream for this skin tag. He keeps biting himself and shit, and it's weird because it's like mutating. Because it used to be like a verruga, like small and shit, and now it's like probably like it's like a fucking old school Kush nugget size on his leg that he keeps biting and shit. It turned like black and pink, and because he keeps biting it and shit, it's like fucking. What do snakes do? Like it's like shedding its skin and it's turning red. I'm like, yo, dog, what's up with this shit for real? And the vet is like, yeah, we could remove it. If not, put this cream on it so we don't keep scratching it and shit. So I'm like, whatever, dog, right? The halfways, I feel like the vet's always gonna bang you out for your buck, but I told the vet, listen, the money's not an issue, guy. Is this a necessity, right? So whatever, what it is the charge, like the big thing was the shot, right? But then they're like, oh yeah, this is for that. So they try to lick off little things with that, and then it all stacks together. Whatever, right? I don't give a fuck. The shot he really needed because it's like seasonal with the pollen and shit. It gets in his paws. And so I'm not a fucking vet, right? But I'm very like, I don't know shit. That's not my department, but I'm better safe than sorry. So let's just get this shit. It's good for like 6 to 8 weeks or whatever the fuck. I sent my sister the text messages because she insists that she remains the owner of Presley, even though she's fucking never really taken care of him as I have. So and then she hasn't responded to me back. So I'm like, cool, like good for you, dog. Like I don't know what it is. It always seems like there's always like some issue with me and my sisters. So at this point, I text her, but at this point I'm like, you know what? She don't need to know this shit. And I'm really done with with my sister and shit. Like, we haven't even been talking. No highs. Like, she didn't come over for not only my birthday party, but her birthday party that we had for her here. Whatever it is, it should, even if you don't have time or whatever, you don't feel like it, bro, like just slide through, say hi and bye, take a piece of cake, some shit, bro. But whatever it is, that's another thing with people. Whatever issues you have with people, it's best if you communicate with whoever it is. Communication is key, because when you feel like ghosting people, blocking people, ignoring people, which it was always ignoring, but it's like with the popular kids now, it's like you're ghosting or whatever. Like, it sounds like, ooh, they ghosted you. Fuck that shit. We're gonna call it what it is. You're ignoring somebody. Ghosting is a fancier fucking cool new millennium ass way of saying somebody just fucking didn't give a fuck about responding to you, and that's just what it is. So if you have any problems with anybody, I would suggest you hash it out. I think I've spoken on this a bunch of times, but like with me, if I'm gonna ignore you, you've literally pushed me to the point where I don't have shit to say to you most times, right? Now, there's other times if it's business and I'm not really feeling it, then like whatever. Like, obviously that's an answer. No, especially if I don't know you well enough or we just haven't had that rapport enough to where I'm going to just be like, no, thank you or whatever. I'm going to just dub it like, nah, fuck, like whatever, right? But it'll really take me, you'd have to be a super dick to me for me to be like, fuck you, I'm just gonna, like, you don't exist to me anymore. The whole fucking whatever we've established. And I don't do this to, like, I don't ignore people really that I don't really get along with. It's like, I thought we were cool, and then you decided to be a dick. Now you're grata pasada, dog. You're fucking out there with the fucking ya está fuera, you know what I mean? I don't have shit to say to you, really. You can ask anybody. Anytime I feel like, okay, now this fool's an asshole. You're blacklisted. You're like the CIA when they block you off with the marker. Like it's a done dealy for me, right? So that's just kind of that was like my morning and shit. And I took Presley to the park and we're walking around listening to cumbias and shit, like new school cumbias too. Yair Saldivar, whatever. My Spanish is horrible. I'm sorry, y'all, but in English it's Yair Saldivar, and then in Spanish is Yair Saldivar. So he's a dope. He's bringing cumbias back. I really like he's got a real distinct voice. He reminds me of like a new age, like Chalino, with his voice is real. You could tell he's from, I think he's from Tamaulipas, right? And where's that at? Tamaulipas has to be in the north because he has that like northern kind of, almost reminds me of a Michoacan accent. Tamaulipas is a state by Nuevo León and San Luis. What is it? Man, I fucking hate. Let's see. Oh, okay. So it's like the most eastern northern part of Mexico. So you have Sinaloa, Durango, Coahuila's up, Nuevo León, and Tamaulipas, right? And then below that you have Nayarit, Guanajuato, where my grandma's from, San Luis Potosi, Jalisco, Colima's under that, Michoacan's next to that, Puebla's next to that, Veracruz is next to that. So it's very interesting. It definitely has like a northern. Oh wait, this is kind of more central. Yeah, because it's not that far up from Mexico City. I don't know what you would describe that. Ooh, this is far. What the fuck? Damn, Guanajuato is far too. Okay, so look. You have Tijuana, which is like in the most northern part. Tijuana is like a fucking Mino border town. Like you could barely say like Tijuana's like, it's definitely a Mexico City, but it's very it's very much a border town. Like, so like Mexicali, where like my grandma's from and all that. It's like, yeah, the deeper you go in Mexico, the more you see like, oh, this is Mexico. And what I mean by that is it's more free from like the American influence. And I wouldn't really know how to say that and describe it in more terms. Like you got to go, you would have to experience, like, cause me, I mostly know like Mexicali, like that's the border town, most northern city in Mexico. But then obviously you have Baja California, you have Sonora to the east of that, where my grandma's originally from. Then to the east of that is Chihuahua. You get a little bit down, you got Coahuila, and then it goes down from there. So I'll say Tamaulipas is, yeah, kind of more like central, like north central, northern, or whatever the fuck, northern, whatever. Yeah. Then under that you have fucking Guerrero, Oaxaca, Veracruz, Tabasco, Chiapas. And then Chiapas, I want to say, is kind of like the end of Mexico as far as going south, because then you have Guatemala, Belize, Honduras, Salvador. Then under that you have Nicaragua, Managua, Costa Rica, Panama. You know what's crazy? I fucking thought that South America, you know, when you look on the map, sometimes they like break it down like South America's all the way, like there's a huge body of water, and then it's like fucking South America's down here, then North America's up here. No, but it's like all connected. Because if you look, Panama is not that far from Medellin, and Medellin, you're already in Colombia. Bruh, why did I think Colombia was super fucking far away? I mean, it is pretty far away from America, but like if you lived in like Chiapas, you're not that far. Like you could probably take a flight and it only be like an hour, 2 hours, probably 2 hours. So if we're looking at Chiapas, you go up to Tabasco, Campeche, Yucatan, and that's pretty much Quintana Roo right there. That's where I went to for the first time like a year and a half ago. And then I saw we're staying in Playa del Carmen, and then we went to Cozumel. Fire. And I didn't even know the fucking Cayman Islands were like right there next to it. That's crazy. Cayman Islands. And that's crazy. I didn't even know how close, but Cancun and Havana in Cuba is like a fucking feed me little boat ride. You'd probably get there. Well, actually, it took like, I want to say it took an hour to get from Playa del Carmen to Cozumel. And that was like on a fast boat. So it's some miles from Cancun to Cuba. This map has to be close as fuck. Yeah, you get Cuba, which is right there with Haiti and DR. And you got Puerto Rico, and then all these little islands, and then South America. That's so crazy. I never really studied geography. I was more of like a history dude. But the more you realize like geography, the more like kind of you understand peoples. Because if you go back to like the Atlantic slave trade and all that, a bunch of people came through and stayed in Cuba, Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico. But then you also have like Venezuela, Colombia. And then that's why you see like a lot of, dark skin or Africans in Honduras and all, Central America. And then obviously, but what's always interesting is like Veracruz, I want to say has maintained like the most amount of, either they call them mestizo or I don't know if they're African, but let's say like, just look at most African population in Mexico. The majority of Mexico's contemporary African descent then population lives in the Costa Chica region, which includes the Caribbean coastal regions of the southern states of Oaxaca and Guerrero, which is right there by fucking Veracruz. But where did I read that Veracruz was fucking like had the most black people? In 2020, Guerrero had the highest proportion of Afro-descendant residents. The municipality of how do you say this? Guajinisilapa and Guerrero has the state's largest population of African Mexicans. Let me see. Guajinisilapa. That's a crazy ass word. You could tell that's like a Aztec Mexica word, dog. Like, holy fuck. Barrio del Carmen. That's right there. Holy shit. And then it's crazy because you look up these cities and then all this shit is in Spanish from here. Let's see. Could we look up? This is literally like the history hour with your boy Big Sur, the geography hour. Let's see. When folks think of what a typical Mexican heritage looks like, a specific iconography may come to mind. Often it doesn't look like Afro descendants as with the Afro-Mexicanos of the vibrant city of Guajinisilapa in Mexico's Costa Chica. Conquistadors established the viceroyalty of New Spain in 1521 after the fall of the Aztec Empire per the University of Texas. Yeah, they were trying to go with the conquerors, like they conquered us, they didn't. It's just the Mexica Empire fucking were fucked over by the Spanish. It wasn't until the fall of Mexico Tenochtitlan in 1535 that the Spanish formalized it as a vassal state. They ramped up what would lay the groundwork for the growth of New Spain. Okay, so where do we get to the point where about 200,000 enslaved Africans were taken to New Spain over the course of 3 centuries? Now, check this out. They're calling it New Spain, but it was never like they had full control of Mexico. That didn't happen. Why the fuck do people, and especially Texas, y'all been had beef with, not the people, but Texas as like a government had beef with Mexico. So New Spain territory consisted of Mexico, much of Central America, from California to Florida, and then the Philippines. That's bullshit, dog. And I don't even want to Google this, but listen, you ask anybody, any fucking Yankee or whatever that doesn't really know, hasn't really traveled, especially to the places they're talking about. Like, we talk about Vietnam and all these other places, but you ain't been there and got the history from there, right? And I could be wrong. Like, I could look at it like if they didn't really conquer it when they did. But all I know is when I went to Mexico and I got some fucking history about my peoples, they straight up were like, dog, all we consider it is an invasion. And that's all it was. They invaded us and they assimilated with our people. But they never really had no real foothold or no control over the country, because look at this shit. It's 300 years. Yeah, dog, by that time we was already like, shit was already on and popping. And on paper, yeah, you could say, yeah, we conquered these fools. This don't seem right. It don't feel right, and I don't think it is right at all. Because you got to understand, on paper, you could say I control this area. But you got to think, bro, there's homies in the mountains, in the jungles, in the caves, and like everywhere, bro. Just because you fucking succeeded in whatever your agenda was in your mind, it didn't mean that it gives you the right to just say, okay, well, fuck everybody. You know, this is what it is now. Let's see. Yeah, so I don't even, just like, these people, they came, they invaded, I'll say they succeeded with, if there's anything that they did conquer, was the religion, because Mexico is free as a bird now, and it let's just say, okay, yeah, like they came through and they did colonize Mexico. They for sure did that, or at least tried to, but it didn't work. Just like with many other countries. Okay, yeah, historical colonial era was from from 1519 to 1522, the conquest of the Aztec Empire. Like, they say that now, but that wasn't the goal. So all they do is move the fucking goalposts in history. Like, oh, well, fucking, they originally were after this, so we're going to settle. Even though we're looking for gold and all this other shit, we'll settle for we conquered the Aztecs. That sounds way better than we fucking failed at getting gold. You know what I mean? So they rewrite shit just to fucking bamboozle you into thinking some other bullshit that was never part of the agenda in the first place. what they did succeed was I feel like they really brainwashed a lot of Mexicanos and Chicanos into believing either Christianity or Catholicism, because as you could tell, like I have my saints and shit like that, but all it did was they call it synchronicity, basically, but syncreticism or whatever the fuck, where basically it's a blend of both religions. So like you have shit like Jesus Malverde, San Simon, fuck, I had another one. San Simon, Jesus Malverde. Yeah, just like Maya deities that became saints or that got established with other saints, similar to Santeria. And they have, you know, obviously like El Legua would be Santo Niño de Atocha. But I have Santo Niño de Atocha because of my grandma. Not really like pertaining to El Legua, but like the more you look at like El Legua and like Gemini and like it gets really deep, dog. The more further like you connect the dots. Very interesting shit. So I'm off of this. I spent a whole 25 minutes on this specific topic. And Instagram threads is crazy, bro. Like the fact that they'll just be like, hey, like, you like chicks? Check out this chick that just has her ass out and like working out and shit. The fact that if women really wanted... Honestly, I feel like women don't post gym shit because it's really healthy for them. Like maybe that might be like brownie points, but I really feel like it's just to get like attention and admiration from mostly dudes because that's some sort of like valuable trinket on their little desk. Let's see.
That's the struggle. Motherfuckers don't know how to deal with it, and they break under it, and you don't know how close you was to getting your paper. Like, you quit right when that motherfucker was about to happen for you. I know that for sure.
Shout out to Currency. Chava just posted this story too. Me and Chava are supposed to get in the studio hopefully soon. But yeah, like history is just to conclude it. History is just a very interesting thing. When I went to Mexico, they don't look at it as like they conquered Mexico, like they invaded Mexico, and that's all it is. Because literally, I wanted to knife the nearest fucking Spanish dude next to me. But the more you think about it, this happened hundreds of years ago. There's no fucking way that you'll be able to eradicate shit now. Like, bro, I have Spanish blood in me. Like, my grandpa, the late, great Abuelito Lupe, he served in World War II. He had a shitload of European blood in him. You could tell the wavy hair, super fucking tall. I think he had colored eyes. So that's not, that everything about that is not indigenous Mexican descent. Like not all, but from what I know, the Mayas are short, dark skin, short, straight hair. That's not at all what my grandpa was. My grandma, on the other hand, I'll say she has a straight hair. My grandma's fucking darker than my grandpa. You know, so it's just different. History is just very interesting. The more you look at it, the more people want to portray themselves as like the victors and shit. And especially here in America, America loves to just teach people and program people some bullshit that ain't even all the way true. Maybe not even halfway, a quarter way there true. So yeah. Science. What else? What else we got going on? I can't believe we started with that. Holy shit. How did we even get into this shit? Rest in peace to Dallas PENN. According to Complex, the legendary New York urban fashion and internet icon. Now, I don't know. I know Dallas PENN from the Combat Jack show. He was very funny. I know he was a big advocate of the lowlifes. Wore a lot of polo. I never got into polo. Yeah, I like this tweet they brought up from Lei Takanashi. Rest in peace, Dallas PENN, an OG Brooklyn Decepticon who helped build the foundation of this internet's hip-hop blogging we all know and love today. This man represented New York hip-hop to the fullest, from the music to the feats, down to all the low from head to toe. Peace, God, boot God. That's hard. That's dope. Let's see. He ran with the Low Life Crew, a brand of New York City young adults that loved anything from Ralph Lauren, would rob stores around the Big Apple to get the hottest pieces, otherwise known as boosting. He then became a force to be reckoned with on the internet when he launched his own blog and later linked up with Combat Jack, which, yeah, they did the Combat Jack show, which aired on Complex. So, yeah, the low life crew, which I think Thurston Howell the third was on outside with Gorilla Nams, and they were talking about it, that they would boost, or, you know, they would, in Cali we call it, you know, jacking, or, you know, just robbing trucks or whatever, which they portrayed in Raising Kanan, which I thought was awesome. You know, they boosted and then the low life shit was very prominent in Raising Kanan. So that's something like, if I got 50 Cent, you know, when I get 50 Cent on the podcast, mind you, that's something I'd want to talk to him about, because low life was definitely like a late 80s, early 90s thing that kind of, it's more of a vintage, right? So if you see anybody wearing like Nautica or whatever, like certain shit like that, or Tommy Hilfiger, that's very, very like 90s, early 90s ish. I would say. Now for me, that I don't really have any ties to the fashion, that like Ralph Lauren, Polo, all that shit. Me, it was more so, I'll say like suits, and, you know, like the the Chicano style, especially like with my grandpa, my Papa Nacho. He over on my dad's side, he definitely like dressing and, you know, like pistachio shoes with the alligator boots, the belts, like real ranchero style, like dope, that kind of thing. You know what I mean? Very different from like the East Coast. So, and you can't even really say it's all West Coast, because it's like more Mexican influence fashion. Now it's just kind of like the more, like, I like dressing in more of like street, you know, Chicano street type shit with mixed with my own like stilo. So kind of like skaterish when I was like in high school. So me, I like now I just like wearing kind of like gym shit, just like plain t-shirts or tank tops, basketball shorts and sneakers, right? So very like, if I was gonna go play basketball or go for a run or something. But, you know, in high school and middle school, I like wearing cargo shorts, long. So I don't really like wearing long socks unless it's winter, because, you know, keep me warm. But short socks now. So in high school, middle school, it was like cargo shorts, big ass shirts. I mean, I still wear big shirts now, but like really big shirts then. Yeah, like streetwise. Actually, no, I don't want to shout anybody out, but just big shirts with like street shit on them. I really like the graffiti designs. You know, Vans primarily. I didn't really get into sneakers and until I was like 20, 22. You know, sneakers is like a new thing, but it was always like Vans or Converse for me. So very skater-ish, you know, mixed with the cholo-ish, if I could say. My dad would tell me, like, haven't you thought about like dressing differently? Because he just didn't want people to, because my dad always knew I was never banging or any shit like that. Like, why don't you just dress differently so people treat you differently? And people still treat me the same, I feel, now, because I'm just like a big dude and shit, so people don't want to fuck with me in that sense. But it's just more so now I understand, because when I do dress in the khakis, the white shirt, or like shit like that, or even like the hats I wear, like, I could see how that could come off. But it's like, bro, like, it's just the style, you know? I've never ever been scared of anybody because of the shit they wore. Now the tattoos, that's a dead giveaway. Like either the face tats or whatever, certain tattoos and shit. Then it's kind of like, oh, okay, like what, like look at, like watch this fool. You know what I mean? Fashion, right? So again, peace, prayers, and condolences to the families and friends of the late great Dallas Penn. I really enjoyed his content. He was dope, man. Like, you know what I mean? And that you know, him and Combat are podding in paradise right now. Podding in paradise is such a dope dope title. Yeah, and now they have brought up a Pete a tweet from Premium Pete. Haven't cried this hard in a while. Truly lost for words. Dallas Penn, your energy and light will never, ever leave us. I love you forever, my brother. That's awesome. Shout out to Premium Pete too. He's got a hit. The Premium Pete show was hard as hell. I can't believe we're almost done. I literally just talk about like 3 things that I've been wanting to talk about, and then that's it. But speaking of Mexicanos, I want to talk about Mexicans being portrayed in the WWE. Now, when I look at Samoans, like, and I don't even think The Rock is all the way Samoan, but you have like Umaga. Let's just throw The Rock in there. Fuck the Samoan brothers. Fuck. Is it Afa and Sika? And then you have like Rikishi, and then you have like the new generation now. You have fuck, I forgot the new dude's name that they threw in there, but Solo Sikoa, Roman Reigns. Like, they're all portrayed as these like really like in your face. Hold on. Somebody's calling me. Yo.
Hi there.
Yo, what's good? Hey, yo, listen, you are on the live on the God's Hour podcast, so unless you got something smart to say, you better fucking redneckinize this shit. I'm going to give you about 3 seconds to say what you got to say, and I'm going to hang up on you. 1, 2, bye. Fuckface ass Levi. And then we going to block this bitch. You ain't never going to call this number again. Fuck you. Fucking interrupting the broadcast. Why do people do that? Spam callers, y'all need to shut the fuck up and find something else to do and sell your fucking dildos or whatever business you got going with scammers and pajamas. The fuck out of here, bro. Why? Why the fuck do people make it their fucking life's mission and just they get paid to scam other people or whatever bullshit spam, whatever you want to put this in a bottle or fucking whatever, like whatever you want to label this, stop, bro. I got shit to do. I don't want to be called by you. You're a fucking 424 number. I never met nobody with a 424 number. Unless you're a fucking 951-909-626 number. You didn't really got no business talking to your boy Big Cervelli, right? Going back to wrestling. I feel like Samoans are portrayed as these like villains most of the time. I don't really see too many like babyface Samoans. They're mainly like heels and they're like powerful and they'll fuck you up. And I get it. They look like big as fuck. They got the tattoos. They got the face. You know what I mean? They'll fuck you up in like portraying wise. I get it. Because WWE has always been about how it looks, right? Because if we look at the Mexicanos in wrestling, I'll speak right now to Sin Cara, Chavo Guerrero Jr., Rey Mysterio Jr., Psychosis, Super Crazy Juventud Guerrera. They've all been like under the cruiserweights. They've never been like they were never the heavyweight champions, right? Rey did got the the world heavyweight champion, but for like 3 months, dog. And then I don't know who he dropped it to, but I pretty much stopped watching wrestling after WrestleMania 22, after Rey got the title. And it was just like, I don't understand why that the whole Mexicans get, I feel like, a bad look. Alberto Del Rio was like the closest thing we ever got to a world champion in recent years, but even then they didn't give him they didn't really give him a good run. They gave him 2 months, 3 months, high and by. Like, no, bro. Like, when are we ever gonna get a champion that holds the belt for a long time? You know what I mean? We have your OGs like Tito Santana, Mil Máscaras. They don't really count, right? Because they were kind of like before and during the golden age of wrestling, WWE, but that was like overshadowed by Hulk Hogan, Macho Man, Andre the Giant, right? Not saying that it's a bad thing, but I'm just saying, like, whenever Mexicanos were in or whenever they're in WWE, they're just like the mid card. or low card. You know what I mean? Case in fact, what the fuck they call themselves? They came out in lawnmowers, super crazy. Juventud and super crazy psychosis in Juventud. What the fuck did they call themselves? Oh, Mexicools. The dumbest fucking name. Like, how can anyone get over with a dumb fucking gimmick like that? You can, bro. Like, when they try to give they have a bunch of dumbass gimmicks, but like Simon, when they gave him the fitness thing, that was a bullshit ass, gimmick they gave him. Whatever it is, I just felt like Mexicans never got good representation. The closest we ever got was Alberto Del Rio, but before that, it was Eddie Guerrero. He was dope. He was like, how long was Eddie world champion? It couldn't have been longer than fucking 4 months. Eddie Guerrero title run. Because I don't think he was ever cruiserweight champion. He was tag champions a few times, at least like 2 times. 1 WWE, 4 tag team, 2 with Chavo, 1 with Tajiri, 1 with Ray. He won the U.S. championship? What? He won the WWF Intercontinental title. So let's see. According to the SmackDown Hotel, look at Eddie. I kind of don't like that picture of Eddie. I can't believe he was 38 when he passed away. Rest in peace. Let's see. His ring names were Eddie Guerrero, the Black Tiger, the second one, and Máscara Mágica, which is magical mask. Let's see. So he was on SmackDown from 02 to 05. He was on Raw for literally like, what is that, like 4 months from April to July? Is that 3 months? That's crazy. Ring of Honor for a few months. New Japan Wrestling, literally like 2 weeks. WWF for like almost a year. WCW from 95 to 2000. ECW for a few months. I need to watch those, Eddie, when he was in ECW. But he was a face when he passed, but he was face, heel, face, heel, face. So he's gotten a pretty good amount of like split, right? So but I want to say it like, let's just say he was like down the middle, a face and a heel. Everyone knows him for being a heel. Like, he was a great heel character. I want to say, as far as Mexicanos, I feel like the best Mexicanos were heels. Rey lives in this weird, like, he's in his own thing where like Rey Mysterio could have been any ethnicity. He lives in like this, like his own lane because he was smaller than most of the roster, high flying. He had his own little thing going on. He had the mask. He like symbolized like a lot of people that, the underdog. He was like really like the underdog, right? So he like kind of like stayed a babyface, but I feel like you look at Alberto Del Rio, you look at Eddie Guerrero, you look at Chavo, the best of them were heels because, especially during the early 2000s, people would shit on like Mexicans are taking our jobs, the wall, whatever the fuck, right? And we would just be like, fuck y'all, like, we're Mexican, suck our dick, and we're the shit, right? Which I fuck with all the time. I fuck with heavy, right? But just going back to like, I never liked the way they portrayed Mexicans. They always looked at us like if we're fucking like lesser than, or like dirty or lazy or whatever the fuck. And completely not like Samoans where they just look like champions, you know what I mean? Like, I get it, it's all a show, but like, especially like most Mexicans never want a clear title. Like Alberto Del Rio had to cash in his money in the bank to get his title. what's his name? Goldberg had a jackhammer Brock and for Eddie to frog splash him to win that title. Ray's the only one that won a big title, to me, fair and square, a triple threat match. And I have my own feelings of why, like, they got the politics for them to put the belt on Ray. It's not like Ray was over because of, like, his athleticism and all that shit. Me personally, I felt like he should have had the World Heavyweight Championship. I just feel like they gave it to him because Eddie passed away. And he was over with that. Like, Ray was a super babyface and over because, like, he was the closest thing to Eddie. So, like, whatever, right? How I feel about it is we got, like, the new age wrestlers like Dominic Mysterio, Raquel Rodriguez, Bayley, and then we also have I forgot her other name. Or maybe it is Raquel Rodriguez that she came from NXT. But, like, Dominic gotta, like, I still don't, they're probably still not looking at Dom as a heavyweight champion, and that's got to change. Dom, you got to step up, dog. You got to take that title from what's his name, Damian Priest. Something's got to happen with the Judgment Day. Someone's got to be the big champion, and Dominic, it got to be you, dog. You got to represent for the raza out here. Message of the day is we got to support each other, not just with ethnicities, right? We got to be A-okay with everybody. Don't get me wrong. If you're African-American, click up with your brothers and all that shit. The raza, we click up with our own and shit like that. But it's just, division is never good. It's just always better to have, like, diversity. And just, like, there's no need for these fucking borders, whether they be physical or societal. You know what I mean? It just doesn't make sense for people to feel like, oh, that's them and this is us. We stick with our own. Unless you're in fucking prison, I understand. But, bro, we're free as a bird. Like, I get along with everybody. I don't give a fuck who you are. You could be something is like, as you know, like, the diaspora could be as little as, like, whatever, like Taiwan. I got homies that are Asian descent and all that shit. Like, I don't understand it. I just think it's better to respect everybody and to have peace with everybody, because that's all I've ever been about. It's just be like chilaqueando con todos, you know what I mean? And with that, this is the God's Hour.
Mad Max was the turnout of my lifestyle. Smoking green, blowing white clouds to build the blue skies. Conversating with the gods by my wildflower to let them know that it's the God's hour. This love's the never-ending saga. Gods by my wildflower to let them know that it's the God's hour. This love's the never-ending saga. Gods by my wildflower to let them know that it's the God's hour. This love's the never-ending saga. Gods by my wildflower to let them know that it's the God's hour. This love's the never-ending saga. Walk through the sands of times like Gara. On the other side of that gad is karma. You wet Prada, the devil like inside your box now.
While the angels fly over my head.